All right, so gift cards. They seem pretty straightforward, right? But we're actually diving into the not-so-fun side of them today.
Yeah, the stuff that might surprise you.
Exactly. Think, well, sneaky fees, scams, even like organized crime, all that kind of stuff.
All connected to these little pieces of plastic. It's kind of wild.
You provided some really interesting sources for this one. We've got advice from the FDIC, the FTC. Oh, and there's that investigative piece from CBS Texas.
Yeah, that CBS report was a real eye-opener, I gotta say.
Okay, so let's just jump right in, I guess. One thing that really caught my attention is this whole thing about expiration dates. I thought there were federal laws about that, like protecting consumers and making sure their gift cards don't just become worthless after a while.
You're right, there are. The FDIC, they make it super clear that gift cards can't expire for at least 5 years.
At least 5 years. So that's good, right? We're protected.
Well, here's the thing, there's a but. Some states, they have their own laws, and those can sometimes override the federal protections.
So even if a gift card says it doesn't expire,
It actually could.
oh wow, how does that work?
Several states, I'm talking places like Alaska, Illinois, even Texas, have these laws that say after a while, if a gift card hasn't been used, the balance can be considered abandoned property.
Abandoned property.
And you know what happens to abandoned property?
The state gets to take it.
You got it. Even if there's no expiration date printed on the card itself.
That's crazy. Imagine thinking you've got like this little stash of money just waiting for you and poof, gone because you didn't use it fast enough.
It really makes you think, right? All these little transactions, they're governed by this whole web of regulations.
Speaking of regulations, what about fees? Those are always a pain.
Right, so there are federal limits on fees too.
Okay, so at least there's some control over how much they can, like nickel and dime us. But I bet the gift card companies are still finding ways to.
Oh, they are. But the interesting part is how states have responded. Some states, they've actually gone further than the feds. They've put in place even stricter rules to protect consumers.
Really, like which states?
Well, you've got Arkansas, Nevada, and New York. They all have these extended fee-free periods. So you can hold on to a gift card for longer without getting hit with those inactivity fees.
So depending on where you live, those fees might not even be an issue. That's awesome.
It is. And then you've got California. They've gone in a completely different direction.
Well,
California law actually lets you cash out a gift card balance if it's like under $10.
wait, really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of that money just sitting there on a card you might never use, you can just get the cash.
That is definitely a win for consumers. But this makes me wonder, if you're in California and have a small balance, could scammers try to take advantage of that law somehow?
It's a good question, and it just shows how these scammers are always looking for new angles.
Yeah. And the FTC report, it really highlighted how big of a problem gift card fraud has become.
It's pretty alarming, yeah.
Okay, so let's get into the dark side of gift cards. Like, what's the most common way these scams actually play out?
Well, usually it starts with a scammer contacting you. Could be a call, text, email, even social media these days.
Right?
And they demand payment through gift cards.
Gift cards specifically.
Yeah. They might pretend to be like a government agency. The IRS is a common one, saying you owe back taxes.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about those.
Or they might say they're from tech support and that your computer is infected with a virus.
Scary stuff.
It is, and they're getting really good at it.
So they use those scare tactics to make people act quickly without thinking it through.
Exactly. You panic, you want to fix the problem, and bam, you're sending them gift card codes.
And once they have those codes,
That's it. Your money's gone.
it's scary how convincing they can be, though.
It is. Some of these scammers are using, get this, voice cloning technology,
Yeah.
so they can sound exactly like a loved one who's, in trouble.
Oh, wow, that's messed up.
It really is. They prey on your emotions, your desire to help.
So it's not just like random people trying to make a quick buck.
Yeah.
The CBS Texas report, it emphasized that this is like organized crime.
Right. Big time. And the fact that Homeland Security is getting involved now, that tells you something.
Wow. And they're even tampering with gift cards right there in stores.
Yeah. They'll steal the numbers off legitimate cards, make copies, put them back on the rack.
So even if you're buying from a reputable store, you're not totally safe.
Unfortunately not. It's a game of cat and mouse. And as consumers, we got to be aware of the risks and take steps to protect ourselves.
Absolutely. And that CBS report, it really stressed how important it is to be super careful when you're picking out a card at the store. Like, what are some red flags to look out for?
Well, any signs of tampering, like scratches on the packaging, dents, tears, anything that looks off.
Gotcha. So really inspect those cards closely.
Yeah, it's almost like you're inspecting produce. You want the freshest looking card on the rack, no bruises or blemishes.
Good analogy. But I got to ask, with these scams being so sophisticated, is there really any way to guarantee that we're protected?
That's the million-dollar question, right?
Yeah.
It's tough, but there are definitely things you can do to minimize your risk, and the FTC and FDIC, they have some great advice on that.
So let's get into that. What are some of those specific tips?
Well, first off, think of gift cards like cash. Would you leave a stack of bills just lying around?
Probably not.
Right. So treat your gift cards with that same level of care, because if they get lost or stolen, well, there's usually not much you can do about it. Unlike a credit card.
Oh, yeah. With a credit card, you've got some fraud protection. Yeah. But with a gift card, once that balance is gone, it's gone.
Exactly. And that's why they're so appealing to scammers. They know once they've got those card numbers, it's like they've hit the jackpot.
Makes sense. So what kind of scams should we be watching out for specifically? Yeah. The FDIC report, it mentioned a few common ones.
Oh, yeah, they see a lot of the same patterns, like scammers pretending to be government agents, someone from the IRS demanding immediate payment for back taxes.
Oh, you're in trouble with the IRS calls. Those are classic.
Right. Or maybe they'll pose as a utility company representative, threatening to shut off your power if you don't pay up right away.
Oh, yeah, those "your power's about to be shut off" calls. Those are designed to scare people.
Totally. They create this sense of urgency, hoping you'll panic and just do whatever they say. And then there are the scams that are just heartbreaking, where they pretend to be a lawyer or bail bondsman.
Oh, those are awful.
They say your family member is in trouble, needs money for bail, and they need it now.
Playing on people's emotions like that, it's just wrong.
It really is. And the FDIC, they emphasize that once you give a scammer those gift card codes, it's almost impossible to get your money back.
So basically, you're out of luck.
Pretty much. It's why it's so important to be cautious. Never make a payment over the phone unless you can absolutely verify it's legit.
Right. Double check, triple check, and if there's any doubt at all.
Hang up and call the organization directly. Use their official contact information, not the number the person on the phone gave you.
Good advice. And speaking of things that sound fishy, the FDIC mentioned another scam, the fake check scheme.
Oh, yeah, that one's a classic.
So how does that work? I mean, why would anyone fall for that?
You'd be surprised. The scammer sends you a check, right? But it's for way more than you were expecting. And then they ask you to send the difference back using a gift card.
That's so weird. Why would they do that?
Well, that check is fake, guaranteed. So you deposit it, you think you're rich, you send them the difference via gift card, and then your bank figures out the check was bogus, and you're on the hook for the money you sent.
Wow, these scammers are good. It's clear we got to be proactive about protecting ourselves.
Oh.
So when it comes to buying gift cards, what are some things we can do to minimize the risk?
Well, first of all, be picky about where you buy them. Stick to places you trust, established retailers. Stay away from those shady online marketplaces.
Right, because those are more likely to be selling counterfeit cards.
Exactly. And once you're at the store, don't just grab the first card you see.
Right, we talked about inspecting it carefully for any tampering, but is there anything else?
Yeah, it's a good idea to choose cards that are, more out in the open, not tucked away in a corner where someone could have messed with them.
Oh, so a scammer could more easily tamper with those less visible cards.
It's possible, and definitely if the packaging looks damaged at all, choose a different one.
So basically, shop for gift cards like you shop for produce. You want the one that looks the freshest and most intact.
Exactly. And always keep your receipt and the card information, just in case you need to file a claim.
Right, good point.
And if you're buying online, only use secure websites. And be wary of deals that seem too good to be true. Like a $100 gift card for $50.
Yeah, those are always red flags. It all comes down to common sense and a healthy dose of skepticism, I guess.
Exactly. But what about when you're on the receiving end of a gift card? Are there any precautions we should take then?
That's a good question. Like, if someone gives you a gift card, what should you do?
Well, the FDIC, they recommend registering it, if that's an option. It might give you some protection if it gets lost or stolen.
Oh, that's a good tip. I never thought of that.
Yeah.
And I guess it goes without saying, always check those terms and conditions.
It sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people don't. Look for expiration dates, fees, all that stuff.
Right. Because even though some states have laws about those things, it's good to know what you're dealing with.
Exactly. And what about those unexpected gift cards?
Unexpected.
Yeah, like you get one in the mail and you have no idea who sent it.
Should you be suspicious?
It never hurts to be a little skeptical. Could be a phishing attempt, trying to get your personal information.
Oh, wow. That's sneaky.
It is. So before you use the card, double check with the supposed sender, just to be safe.
Good point. Better safe than sorry. It's amazing how gift cards have become this, battleground. Consumers, retailers, scammers.
I know, right? It's crazy. And as consumers, we need to arm ourselves with knowledge and a good dose of skepticism just to navigate this whole thing.
It's like we're in a constant chess match, trying to stay one step ahead.
That's a great way to put it. And we haven't even touched on the fact that practically every state has its own set of laws about gift cards.
Yeah, we mentioned a few examples earlier, but it's clear there's a lot of variation out there. It can get pretty confusing.
It really can. You've got this federal law that provides some basic protection, but then each state can add their own rules on top of that.
Right, so it ends up being this patchwork of legislation.
Exactly. And like you mentioned, that article from Spavelous online magazine, it lays out a ton of specific state laws.
It does. Some states, like California, let you cash out small balances, while others have tougher rules about expiration dates and fees.
It's a lot to keep track of.
It really is. And then you add in those organized crime rings that are using gift cards to make money, and it gets even more complicated.
For sure. That's why it's so important to be aware of the risks and take steps to protect yourself.
Knowledge is power, as they say. But with all these different state laws and scammers coming up with new tricks all the time, is there a single resource people can use to stay up to date?
That's a good question. I don't know if there's one definitive resource that covers absolutely everything, but there are definitely some good places to start, like the FTC and FDIC websites. Those are both really great places to start.
Those make sense. What can you find on there?
They've got tons of information about consumer protection in general, and then specific sections on gift cards, and scams related to gift cards.
Okay, so those sound like good starting points.
Yeah, definitely. And we'll be sure to include links to those in the show notes.
Perfect.
Another good idea is to check out your state's website.
The state website.
Yeah, like the Attorney General's office or the Consumer Protection Agency. They usually have information on, specific laws and regulations for your state.
Oh, that's a great tip. Especially since things vary so much from state to state.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that we got to keep up with this stuff. It's not like a one-time thing.
Right. Scammers are always coming up with new tricks, so you got to stay informed.
It's like a never-ending battle.
It really is. But if you're aware of the risks and you use common sense, you'll be way better off.
Common sense. That's key. If something sounds too good to be true.
It probably is. And if someone ever asks you to pay with a gift card, that's a huge red flag.
No matter what.
No matter what. No legitimate business or government agency is going to demand payment with a gift card, ever.
Okay, so that's a rule we should all remember, no matter how convincing they sound.
Exactly. Don't let fear or pressure cloud your judgment.
Right. Take a step back, think it through.
And if you're ever unsure, contact the company or agency directly. But use their official contact information, not the number the scammer gives you.
Good point. Verify everything.
Always verify.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Gift cards, they seem so simple, but clearly there's a lot more to them than meets the eye.
I know, right? It's kind of crazy how complex it can get.
But hopefully this deep dive has been helpful for people.
Yeah, I hope so. At least it's made people aware of the risks.
And maybe given them some tools to protect themselves.
Exactly. Because this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
What do you mean?
Well, there's so much more to learn about this. We encourage everyone to, keep digging. Use those resources we mentioned.
Right, the FTC, FDIC, state websites, all that.
Yeah. The more you know about this stuff, the better.
Because knowledge is power. Yeah.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
It helps you make better decisions, avoid those scams,
Exactly. So stay curious, folks. Keep learning.
and stay safe out there. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive.
Yeah, the FTC, FDIC, all those state websites. And, this whole deep dive has really made me think twice about gift cards.
Me too. I always kind of knew there were risks, but I never really thought about it this deeply.
It's easy to just assume they're harmless little pieces of plastic.
Totally. But now I'm definitely going to be way more careful.
Good. That's the goal.
So just to recap, the main takeaways are:
Be cautious about where you buy gift cards. Stick to reputable sources.
and inspect those cards closely.
Yeah, like you're picking out produce. Look for any signs of tampering.
And remember, if someone asks you to pay with a gift card, that's a huge red flag.
Huge, no matter who they say they are.
And if you're ever unsure about anything, just contact the company or agency directly.
Always verify.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that about covers it for today.
Yeah, I think so. This is a good one.
Definitely eye-opening. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive, everyone. And remember, stay curious.
And stay safe out there.
We'll catch you next time.